Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Little context here. Prabhupada wrote this late 50s, early 60s. At that time, Prabhupada didn't imagine he'd live a long life. He lived quite a bit longer than he thought he would, for various reasons. And he really packed into the first cantos the whole essence of the philosophy. And especially in this chapter. Because what is the context of this chapter? The name of the chapter is, anybody know the name of the chapter, Ron? Questions of the sages. So what he did is so the Bhagavatam begins with questions. And then it's a nested book, meaning there are questions. And then there's, you might have Sutta Goswami questioning, and you'll have Sukadev Goswami questioning, and then Vidura and Maitreya questioning. In other words, it's nested. You have one level of questions, and then that takes us to another level. It's basically a lot of questions and answers. So, what does that mean for all of you? Well, you ought to have some questions. And Prabhupada ended every single class with this statement. Are there any questions? And sometimes people would ask some pretty sharp questions, sometimes some pretty stupid questions too. One lady reporter goes up to Prabhupada, says, "Why do you shave your head?" Says, "Why do you shave your legs? Better cool head and warm legs." So Prabhupada would have some pretty good comebacks for questions that were not really very deep or important. First time I met Prabhupada, I met Prabhupada in Calcutta a little before I met him in Mayapur. And I had just come from Bodh Gaya. Who's been to Bodh Gaya? It's the place where the Buddha received enlightenment. It's near Patna on the Ganges in India. And so I was stationed in Patna for a while. So I went across the river and I went to Bodh Gaya. And I sat under the very sapling of a tree in which allegedly the Buddha became enlightened. And I sat under the tree. Of course, nothing happened. But I figured I'd have to sit there anyway. See, so the idea is that it's a time of when I approached Prabhupada, I'd just come from seeing the Buddha, the Buddha's place of enlightenment. And when I saw Prabhupada in Calcutta, I asked him a question. And it was a really, really dumb question. You'll see why in a moment. So I said, Prabhupada, you're following this Hindu path. Why not the Buddhist path? Buddhists are cool too. We all had read Who here has read Siddhartha? Hesse's Siddhartha. It's a pretty good book. Anyway, it's a good book. In my college days, I was extremely popular. Books like Siddhartha, other books, Buddhist, the Zen Buddhism was becoming a fad. So I had been in college immersed in various Buddhist thought. So when I just come from the place where the Buddhists see the light, I asked Prabhupada, well, why not the Buddhist path? Can somebody guess how Prabhupada would have answered that question? Turns out it's very typical of Prabhupada answer. How would he have answered? Somebody take a guess. Take a guess. Yes.
Because it's atheistic.
I say it a little louder.
Because it's atheistic.
Well, no. That's not how he answered. Yeah, Prabhupada said, what does the Buddha say? I said, why not Buddhism? He goes, what does the Buddha say? Prabhupada never wanted to discuss ism, this ism or that ism. He wanted to discuss philosophy. One time Prabhupada said to me, stop talking about Krishna, talk philosophy. And Prabhupada said that to others. So Prabhupada said, well, what did the Buddha say? And I said, well, there are eightfold this, four of that, or is it four of this and eight of that? And I'm mumbling and trying to figure it out. Finally, I turned to him and said, I don't know. I can't remember. And he goes, so why are you asking? At that point, I knew it was time to shut up and listen. Because that was a really dumb question. And then later, when I got to see Prabhupada, I said, no more dumb questions. So I tried to go a little deeper. So that was a dumb one. And fortunately, in the Bhagavatam, we're not dealing with dumb questions. We're dealing with the most important questions possible. And this chapter ends with 6 questions. And then the rest of the Bhagavatam basically is discussing how to answer these particular questions of Sutta Goswami. So I'm giving a context for what we're talking about. These are really the best of questions. And now we'll get to our particular verse, which is text 14. Who's a good Sanskritist? Lead it. I want to cue something up on my computer. Put it up. Who here has seen my conversation with Prabhupada? Not seen that book. Not seen that book. Who's not heard of that book? It's an interesting book. Okay. I'll give you Chant. I'm going to cue up that.
Tata sadya vimuchyeta yati beti swayam bhayam apana samsritim ghora yanama vishvaso vina tata sadya vimuchyeta yati beti swayam bhayam apana samsritim ghora yanama vivashognina tata sadya vimuchyeta yadviveti swayam bhayam
Okay. Apana being entangled, Samrishtan in the hurdle of birth and death. Goram, too complicated. Yat, what? Nama, the absolute name. Vivasa, unconsciously. Rinan, chanting. Tata, from that. Sada, at once. Vimuche, gets freedom. Yat, that which. Bibete, fears. Savayam, personally. Bayam, fear itself. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. Now, there is, what will be the purport in a moment, there is a philosophical problem here. It has to do with karma and fairness. Can anybody say the philosophical problem that this verse brings up? It's an important problem. Anybody see a problem in this verse?
Perhaps if all it takes is unconscious chanting of Hare Krishna, why do we have to get up early, chanting some rounds and follow?
Yeah, saying, hey, if you're chanting unconsciously, just talk about sin Rama, and you said Rama, your life is successful, what is there to do? And Krishna discusses in the Gita that he's equal to everyone. And if Krishna is equal to everyone, and I accidentally chant the holy name, why should I get some great benefit while someone else who's a real rat can also chant the holy name and get the equal benefit? It doesn't make sense. Does anybody see a problem with this philosophically? I mean, it sounds like a little bit cheating. Just chant the holy name. Give me a reason why there's a problem here. Yeah.
There was a quote by Prabhu in the Daily Quotes. I don't think it was that long ago. It might have been on a weekend. He said something like, when we surrender to Krishna, Krishna settles our accounts.
So what?
He settles our accounts.
Yes.
So we get the least, according to our proportionate surrender, we get the least amount of chastisement possible. Or that verse where it says one who goes patiently awaiting, patiently suffering the results of his past misdeeds. He's one who is patiently suffering the results of his past misdeeds. Something like that. Devotional service or going back to God has become his way for claim or something like that. So it doesn't mean there'll be no reaction.
There's a famous story, which we get to later in the semester, called the story of Ajamil. Ajamil was a great Brahmin, and then he became a great debaucher. He just, you name a regular principle, he made every effort not to follow it on a daily basis. And he was pretty good at that, very good. And he had a son, and he named his son Narayan. Then, at the time of death, he's on his deathbed. Who here has been with someone who's been on their deathbed? It's quite a scene, isn't it? It's quite a scene. And he's on his deathbed, and he sees his youngest son, Narayan, was very young, and he calls out, Narayan, Narayan, and at that moment he dies. And then the Yamadutas, these nasty creatures, come. Who here has seen the movie Ghost? Okay. Older movie. Yeah. In this movie from, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago, it was based somewhat on the Bhagavatam. And this good guy is killed by a bad guy, and he becomes a ghost for a while. And the bad guy meets a fate, and you actually see the Yamadutas come and take him away. It's based right on, I'm quite sure that the screenwriters must have read the Bhagavatam. So the Yamadutas, these nasty creatures, come. You have many, many stories of people near death, and they're talking about seeing nasty creatures. Very, very common, in especially near-death experiences. Maybe somebody didn't die, but almost, and they talk about these nasty creatures. So these nasty Yamadutas came to take him away, and the Vishnudutas came and said, stop, you can't take him away. What do you mean? He's a sinful wretch. You can't take him away. He said the holy name of Krishna. And the Yamadutas went back to see Lord Yamaraj. Is this right? This is right. We have our duty. What's going on here? And Yamaraj says, no, that is correct. So, looks like this sinful rascal just chanted the name of Narayan and got away with it. Like did the perfect crime. You know, a perfect crime and no time. Except that's not what really happened. What happened is he had been a pious Brahmin. He had fallen down, he had chanted the name Narayan. Then he was given a chance to, I think it was next life or whatever, but given a chance to practice devotional service. It wasn't a free trip. It was a chance to say, okay, you said the holy name, that can purify you, but now you have a chance to purify your heart. Because what good is an elephant's bath, as the example given in the Bhagavatam? An elephant goes in the water. When they see an elephant take a bath, it's quite a sight. They go in the water and they take their trunk and they pour the water and they wash themselves, and they probably wash under their arms so they can put on their deodorant, whatever elephants do that way. And they take this thorough bath. I mean, they're really into it. And then as soon as they get on shore, they roll themselves in the dirt. It's called an elephant's bath. And the Bhagavatam says, what good is an elephant's bath? In an elephant's bath, you just, hey, look what happened. So in a similar way, the elephant's bath is something we're warned against. So just chanting the holy name and then going back into the mud doesn't do anything. Because what's needed is one thing and one thing only. A change of heart. Without a change of heart, all of this doesn't do much. So what happened with Ajamil, he had a change of heart, realized his ways, and then was able to take up devotional service and purify himself. That was the key. So it's not just a free ride. Oh, I can commit all kinds of nonsense, chant the holy name, and I get a free. Anybody here play Monopoly? You know, the Monopoly get out of jail free card. Those. Okay. So I want to give a context here, because sometimes this is misunderstood. By accidentally chanting the holy name one time, then everything is resolved. No, accidentally chanting the holy name or intentionally chanting the holy name gives an opportunity. It doesn't give the resolution. It gives the opportunity, because we still have to purify our heart. Okay, so would someone like to read the prayer?
Vasudev, O Lord Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead. He's the supreme controller of everything. There is no one in creation who is not afraid of of the rage of the Almighty. Great Asuras like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, and others, who were very powerful living entities, were all killed by the personality of Godhead. And the Almighty Vasudeva has empowered his name with the powers of his personal self. Everything is related to him, and everything has its identity in him. It is stated herein that the name of Krishna is feared even by fear personified. This indicates that the name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. Therefore, the name of Krishna is as powerful as the Lord Krishna himself. There is no difference at all. Anyone, therefore, can take advantage of the holy names of Lord Sri Krishna even in the midst of greatest dangers. The transcendental name of Krishna, even though uttered unconsciously or by force of circumstances, can help one obtain freedom from the hurdle of birth and death.
Nice song. Oh, it's guest. You like that one? Sorry about that.
I see the problem. I see the let me, okay. I got it now. This will work. Change of heart is called.
And what I understood is reading the Jewish liturgy. What I found very powerful in the Jewish liturgy was the intense discussion of the holy name of God. And the most significant prayers to me growing up were a prayer called Kaddish, which says, "Holy, holy, holy is the name of God." The name of God was so powerful, but they can never explain why or how or what it means. There was no philosophy, just that point. The name of God is powerful. And we find this in all religious traditions. We'll get into it. The advantage we have with the Bhagavatam tells us how and why and how to connect. It goes philosophically deep into that very topic of how powerful is the name of God. But I grew up understanding it was powerful, understanding what is one of the 10 commandments in relation to the name of God. Can someone tell me? I shall not say my name in vain. What does that mean? What does that actually mean? One of the 10 commandments. Yes.
It means that when you say it, you don't want to be empty in the head. You actually want to worship and honor God by, there needs to be, vain means empty. So you don't want to take his name as a swear word or just say it with nothing behind it.
I always felt using the name of God as a swear word was just, even as a kid, I said, something's wrong with that. Just something's horribly wrong with it. Turns out there's something horribly wrong with it. It's just how it is. And so the power of the name of God is here. And what does the power of the name of God do? It gets rid of what, according to the purport? What's that? It does, but that's not what it says in the purport. There's one word. It's the F word. Fear. We all have a certain amount of fear. Have any of you had a very fearful situation in your life? Somebody tell me about a horribly fearful situation. Go on, spit it out. Yes. I mean, you got too late for prasadam?
No.
And there was nothing left?
No.
That's pretty fearful.
It was much worse than that.
I can't imagine worse. But go on.
After a long day of book distribution with other book distributors, I left the money bag. There was an open window. I left the money bag on the front seat. That's total collection of everyone. And in the morning, I walked out, and coming back, I saw an open window. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the bag. And for half an hour, I was just like in total panic because everybody was still resting. I was so horrified.
Did you find the bag?
Yeah, somebody just put it. I left it there, but somebody put it elsewhere.
Oh, that was,
yeah. So
what a relief.
Yeah, what a relief.
Sometimes when we're fearful, we actually can get very close to Krishna. Very close. I'll tell you a story of fear to put it in context. I was once on an airplane. I was sitting in the front row, the aisle seat in the front row, before 9/11 in 96. And somebody tried to hijack the plane. They ran up and kicked in the cockpit doors before they were reinforced, the bottom half. And we were descending on the way into LA. And if there was a tussle in the cockpit on the way down, we all would die. They didn't get the door all the way open. Fortunately, there was a deadhead pilot. Deadhead meaning he was just sitting in the jump seat. He's not flying. sitting next to the door. He took out the axe. He was ready. Any limb came to chop it off. He told me I have to try that later. And then the guy went and poured coffee, hot coffee, over the flight attendant, started attacking her. So I jumped out of my seat. Stop. And somehow I wasn't fearful. It was a horrible situation. Something could crash, everything go wrong, attack. I thought, I was actually thinking of Krishna. Krishna, I cannot let this happen. We have a duty to do. I got in a staring contest with the attempted hijacker. He was on a bad drug trip, hung down a bomb and this and that. And the plane landed while we were all standing. I analyzed it later. I said, I should have been horribly fearful. Why wasn't I? Why wasn't I fearful? I said, I want to learn a lesson from this. Now, when we got off the plane, the press was already there. It's big news when a plane's attempted hijacking. And the guy in the seat opposite me met with the press, and he was hiding under his seat during this whole time. I saw him. So he's telling the press he did what I did. I had no interest in talking to the press, and I had no interest in being on the evening news at all. I was just shocked that somebody, he was so fearful. So then I analyzed what's the difference. And the difference is that, and believe me, I'm not saying I'm always like this. I'm usually, in fact, not like this. But at that moment, I understood I had a duty to do, and that Krishna was in control. The thought went through my mind, and I was able to do the right thing. So that's an example where somehow Krishna was there and helped me overcome fear. Other times, it doesn't always work that well, but it does. So there are two themes in here. The power of the holy name, and that is how we overcome fear. So it's 8:30, another song to play, but there might not be time. It's quite appropriate too. But let me first stop and pause and see if there are any questions, comments, reflections, criticisms, good jokes. Yeah, go on.
Thank you very much. I was just noticing how when you mentioned the question that you asked Prabhupada about Buddhism, how genuinely Prabhupada was interested to know. He really wanted to know. And he showed it actually a few times in, I believe in Australia, when they took him to the Franciscan monastery. First question, yeah, so what is the teaching of St. Francis?
Exactly.
He really genuinely wanted to know because he was, as we say, the bridge builder. He was interested in building bridges and knocking down the walls. And if I may notice, your rabbi had the same genuine interest. So what did you learn? What did Prabhupada?
That was a, yeah, that rabbi was a rare one. He was a pious man. And Prabhupada didn't really want to be involved. He said to me, one time he said to me, stop talking about Krishna, talk philosophy, not theology. Prabhupada was a philosopher, really wanted to establish a philosophical basis of the absolute truth. The absolute truth goes beyond God. God's the controller. The absolute truth is the source of everything. There's a difference between the controller and the source of everything. In Sanskrit, we call it Ishvara, controller. The son of Mona, the source of everything. So the Prabhupada did not mind at all appreciating other spiritualists. Depends on who he was with. When Prabhupada was with Cardinal Danilou, It was a little tough. Challenged the cardinal on his meeting, and the cardinal kept defending himself at every point. But a week later, the cardinal was dead in the bed of a prostitute. Prabhupada understood what was going on because the face is a mirror of the mind. And other times, Prabhupada was very liberal with people, so he could judge what was best for that person. So sometimes he would tell the truth in a direct way if somebody couldn't handle it, in an indirect way. One time I was with Prabhupada in Denver, and this Indian Swami came, older man, with a very young blonde assistant. You can see the picture. And he came to inquire from Prabhupada, and Prabhupada gave him a lecture. Gave a lecture, never mentioned any, never pointed a finger at him at all, but gave a lecture on fallen sannyasis. And he understood. The fellow understood that Prabhupada was talking about him without directly embarrassing him. And then when he left, he touched Prabhupada's feet and left with his young blonde. So Prabhupada could understand where people were at. But the isms were not as important as the philosophy. Okay. Any other questions or comments? One more song, but no time to save that for another time. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, yes. Adisha. Oh.
So I had a comment about the change of heart, something from Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. This answer was given class, and he asked the audience, so if you practice sadhana bhakti, you chant your rounds, you do all the cool things, will you get bhakti? They're like, yeah, sure. Like, he said, no, to give bhakti or not to give it up to Krishna. So then he said, so you can then you can ask, so why do I follow all the principles sadhana bhakti if to give bhakti is up to Krishna, not up to me? So the reason is you prepare in your heart for that mercy to come. He said, to give an example of the waterfall, he said, your heart right now is like a little plastic cup. And you go to this waterfall, what's going to happen? You won't be able to take it. So he said the point is of the sadhana bhakti is to prepare the heart, and then Krishna comes in and gives you bhakti. He said, don't worry, Krishna will be forced to give you bhakti, but that's the point. So.
Yeah. Very well, very well put. Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll all get to breakfast and get to Krishna lunch. Hare Krishna.